Good morning, good evening, or good night to wherever you are in the world and whatever your respective current time is. Welcome along to practice for the second session for the Aus-NZ combined Nurburgring 24 hours. This is, of course, the second session of the day. The event runs over 2 days, and so far, Uncrewed Squid is leading after session 1 in the Garage 59 McLaren. Hello everybody and welcome along to Triple Crown Racing's first ever official Aus-NZ combined broadcast on Twitch. My name is Jack McKenzie, otherwise known as Gear 3 Gaming on Xbox, and I'll be taking you through all of today's action. However, what's happening now currently has no bearing on what happens in the race. This is only practice. The only thing that this will do is get the drivers acclimatized to the conditions and also heat up the track a little bit for session 2 of the race. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on what's been going on so far. If I can get my results up from session 1, I have my laptop next to me, and I'll just make sure the audio is working. And the audio is working, which is fantastic. I'm wondering if there's any chat going on, any chatter going on Twitch. I don't actually know. I'm not very experienced when it comes to Twitch. So, after session 1, it was Uncrewed Squid leading the way in the Garage 59 McLaren, which is the car you currently see on screen. He was followed by Shads, who is driving the Koseki number 93 Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan. And they were then followed by Night Pegasus, who's actually doing very, very well to be third in after the first session. He's doing rather well. Now, Night Pegasus isn't here, which is rather... Oh, no, Night Pegasus is over here. My apologies. He is driving the number 6 Audi Team Phoenix Sports R8 LMS, and he was third. Now, he actually crashed with 2 laps to go, so he's starting a little bit behind the leading 2 cars. Uncrewed Squid's leading the way, as I mentioned before, followed by Shads, who will be starting the session 7 seconds behind Uncrewed Squid. Then it'll be Night Pegasus starting 1 minute and 31 seconds behind the leader, followed by Dark Racing 40, who will actually he's actually leading the touring car class at the moment. So there is actually the possibility that a touring car may win overall. He is driving the car you currently see on screen, which is the number 42 Extra Motorsport Runner McGann RS, and that continues the trends of touring cars doing oddly well, because it's actually Sado 15 who is second in the the touring car class at the moment. It's actually 5th overall in the number 3 No Regret Racing Opel Astra. And then we are back into the GT3s. Lockie 5s ended off the session 6th overall, and he is he's actually driving one of the touring cars. He's actually partnered up with AJD. He is driving the number 15 Mercedes TC class. Now, I don't think it's actually Lockie in this. Oh no, it is Lockie in the session for session 2 of the Nurburgring 24 hours, and he's driving the car you currently see on screen. After Lockie, it was Triple Rotor Racing in the number 63 Grasser Racing Lamborghini. However, I don't think that car is actually present for this particular session, so that's quite disappointing for Triple Rotor Racing. Colonel Lloyd came 8th overall in the session. Now, Colonel Lloyd is driving the Apt Racing Bentley that you currently see on your screen. That's number 38 by the looks of things. And rounding off the field after session 1 was Taipan Samurai, who finished 9th. However, I don't think Taipan Samurai is here either. However, he was driving the Ferrari 488 GTB, GT3 actually, because it's not the road-going version. So, regardless, whatever the case, it's Uncrewed Squid who leads overall in the GT3 class. However, he's only 7 seconds ahead of Shads, so that will obviously be a battle to look out for. and he's actually behind Shad's on track right now, actually, who's driving that Lamborghini in front of him. So this will, of course, be the battle to watch out for during Session 2, and this could actually be quite an important battle in the grand scheme of Aus-NZ combined for this year, because Shad has currently won, at this stage of the year, has won all of the Aus-NZ combined special events. So Uncrewed Squid in the Garage 59 McLaren actually has the opportunity to break that run of victories for this year. Also, I'd look out for Dark Racing, who, because Night Pegasus isn't in the session, will actually be starting 3rd overall in the TC class, the touring car class. So watch out for Dark Racing. He potentially has the opportunity to take an overall podium in the touring car class, which would be very, very interesting to see. And I believe and also there will be a very, very tight battle to look out for in the touring car class as well, because the number 15 Mercedes of Lockie and AJD will be starting only 2 seconds behind Sado 15 for Session 2. So that will be a battle to watch out for right from the get-go. And I reckon that probably does it for your pre-race preview. So at the moment, Uncrewed Squid and Shads appear to be practicing their racecraft, and they're going down this very, very long straight. No one's set a time in this practice session yet. It is a very, very long lap around here. If I remember correctly, it's 87 corners and over 15 kilometers. And it's not going to help the fact that Shads has just invalidated his lap, and Uncrewed Squid goes off into the wall. So the 2 fastest cars will not be setting a time in practice. Luckily, they haven't done that in the actual race. That's a pretty interesting incident to see. Now, you will also notice that I am directing the broadcast. And there you go, you see Uncrewed Squid without a rear wing. I will actually be directing the broadcast and also commentating it, so I'm all alone and lonely in the commentary box for this session, and Uncrewed Squid has returned to the pit box, and I believe Shads is actually doing some repairs to his Lamborghini by the looks of things. I'm not sure if he ended up with any damage, but Uncrewed Squid certainly did. Now I'm going to see if I can find our chat. Okay, bear in mind, this is only this is actually my first Twitch broadcast, so I'm not particularly experienced with this type of thing. However, it looks like some people are actually watching. I'm not sure if one of those is actually just me. Excuse me while I operate technology. This is only practice, so we do actually have the opportunity to make mistakes. So the drivers can go and make their mistakes now, get that all out of their system, and I can make my mistakes with the broadcast. Now, I should also say that we were only here last week, in fact, actually, with the end of the Intercontinental GT Challenge. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube later, you will be able to see that well, if you're watching this on YouTube, I will, of course, be bringing out the rest of the Intercontinental GT Challenge rounds from my perspective out on the channel over the next coming days or over the next coming weeks. I've been getting through them, actually, so I'd say that's pretty good. And, of course, you'll be able to see this on YouTube, so you won't be short of Aus-NZ content. And I'm still trying to find our chat. And Twitch is making random noises. I really do not know what I'm doing here, do I? Now you will hear a bit of umming and ahhing for me, so I'll let you watch this little on-track battle between Shads and Uncrewed Squid whilst I continue to find the chat. That's how much of an amateur I am at this. I don't even know where the chat is on Twitch. So talk amongst yourselves. Enjoy the broadcast, enjoy the online battle that you're seeing now, because I don't know what I'm doing. Ah, yes! I found the chat, and hello to Woody Lizard, who's actually just started following us on Twitch. Right, okay, now I know where the chat is, I can interact with you guys and actually know what's going on. And the mic's still working. So, surprisingly, we actually haven't had any technical difficulties as of yet. However, I don't want to jinx it. So, we're going to continue cycling through. Still nobody's set a time in this practice session. I don't think anyone really has time to, because the session is nearly at an end. And there's only a couple of cars out on track. And Colonel Lloyd looks like he's run into some sort of difficulty as well. There's a little bit of damage to that Bentley of his. Darky's in the pit lane, Uncrewed Squid. So it's really just Uncrewed Squid and Shads who are out on track right now, as well as Night Pegasus. I don't think anyone from the touring car class is on track either. Yep, none of the touring cars are out on track at the moment. So if you want to interact, if you want to express your thoughts on the broadcast, maybe tell me how rubbish I am at this, or maybe just point something out for the race, send it to the chat, which I hope everyone is able to access, because if you aren't, that means I've probably made a mistake. And I hope you enjoy. This practice session is very nearly over now. We've only got 27 seconds left, so we'll be starting session 2 in a moment's time, and I'll try and talk you through who will be setting off when, because I do actually have my entry list. I've got everything in front of me. I have my entry list, I have my starting order, and I have all the gaps and all the times where people are supposed to be starting from. So it looks like we're all set to go for session 2 at the N24. Now this is actually the first stream of this race, because session 1 wasn't actually streamed due to unforeseen events that did occur. So this will be your first stream of the day, and your only stream of the day actually, because the action for today at least ends after this session. However, there is still one final session tomorrow, and I'm not entirely sure who's streaming that. I may end up streaming that, I'm not sure. But regardless, here we are for session 2, and I hope I can show off some good racing for you, and I hope our drivers can put on a show for us as well. And it looks like we'll be in the dark as well, so you won't be able to see anything, but you'll know that something interesting is happening. And Twitch is telling me that 3 people are watching. I'm not sure if one of those people is actually me. That'd be slightly embarrassing if it was me, but whatever the case, I'll try and entertain some people who are watching. Still, nobody's has set a lap, but however, they do actually. Anyone who's on a lap now does have plenty of time to set a lap. However, there are only 2 cars on track at the moment. It's Night Pegasus and Lloyd, Colonel Lloyd in the BMW at the moment. Still 638 seconds to set a lap. That just shows you how long this track actually is. Because the longer the track, the longer the time at the end of the session the game actually gives you to set a lap. Colonel Lloyd, he's still making his way around the track. Oh, and that reminds me, I can show off all of the different camera angles. I have access to the speedo, which has just turned to 0 because Colonel Lloyd's had a spin, and he's gone to the pit lane. That means Night Pegasus is the only car on track, so I might be able to try out the broadcast booth. So we have the speedo there, that's quite good. It's being blocked by the practice complete timer at the moment, which is annoying. We've got our track map, so I can tell you roughly where everyone is on the track. However, I can't tell you any of the corner names. I don't know any of them. Well, I know some basic ones, but there are too many corners to remember. And it looks like Night Pegasus will be rounding just the final few of those corners. This is one of the most infamous racetracks in the world. Not not only because it's long, because it's incredibly challenging as well. There have been racing cars here for an extremely long time. This track has seen Formula 1 action, it's seen World Sports Car action, of course with the Group C's back in the days. I actually, I remember seeing pictures of Ayrton Senna racing a Porsche 956 round here. I don't think they did particularly well in that race. I believe it was the Yost car. And of course it's seen the Nurburgring 24 Hours, it's seen VLN, it's seen a variety of things. And of course you have the people that take their BMW 3 Series out, their BMW 3 Series out here every single day and end up in funny YouTube compilations of them putting it into the wall. So it looks like Night Pegasus will be the only one to set a time in practice. He's rounding the final few corners. I'm not sure if he's invalidated this. Let's hope he hasn't, so we can actually talk about the lap time he set. And he comes across the line to set nothing by the looks of things. Oh, yeah, no, he actually has set a time. 8 minutes 34.9. I don't think it's the best of lap times, but he's still topped the practice session because nobody else has set a time. And now we're moving on to the race. Now, Uncrewed Squid will lead the field away in the Garage 59 McLaren. He'll be followed by Shads in the Koseki Lamborghini, which is there. And we're still waiting for the lights to go green, actually. He will then be followed by Night Pegasus, who actually has joined the session. It's really good to see him come along in the number 6 Team Phoenix Audi. He will then be followed by Dark Racing 40, the first of the touring cars, in his Renault Megane, the number 42 Extra Motorsport car. He will then be followed by Sado, who's also done really well in the touring car class, in the number 3 No Regrets Opel Astra. Then followed by Lockie, which is also, he's also sharing his car with AJD in the number 15 Mercedes. He will then be followed by Triple Rotor Racing, who's not present. Colonel Lloyd, in the Apt Racing Bentley, I believe it's called. And Colonel Lloyd is there, in the number 38 car. And I believe that actually rounds off the field, so Uncrewed Squid will lead the field away. I believe they are still getting ready, they're still readying up, so we won't be starting for a little while longer, but he will lead the field away. And we should have battles right from the start, and we are about to go green. Once these lights go on, Colonel Lloyd will lead the field away in the number 59 Garage 59 McLaren. And he's away! The first of the cars are away, and now we will be waiting for Shads to set up in the Koseki Lamborghini, and hopefully I've gotten that right. Yes, there he goes there, and the Koseki Lamborghini is away. He will then be followed by Night Pegasus in the Audi. However, I do want to keep an eye on Shads for the moment in the GT3 class, because he's only got a 7-second gap to close, and he could actually be in the lead of this race, or at least battling with Uncrewed Squid. And it looks like Night Pegasus is setting off in the number 6 car. There seems to be some sort of difficulty going on here, because the number 38 car is out of line, and it shouldn't be. So something looks like it's gone awry here. Now, of course, it will be Night Pegasus setting off next in that number 6 Audi. And then it will be Dark Racing, the first of the touring cars. So it looks like Colonel Lloyd has a little bit of traffic to make his way through in the number 38 Bentley. Now, Shads has closed the gap already by a second, actually. He's only 6 seconds behind Uncrewed Squid. So we could be seeing a battle there in the very, very near future. And he's already closed it to 5 seconds, actually. I think Uncrewed Squid's taking it a little bit cautious. Night Pegasus still... we're still waiting for him to set off. He has to wait 1 minute and 31 seconds, and that time is up, and Night Pegasus is away. Now, we only have to wait 8 more seconds for Dark Racing 40 in his Renault Megane to take off, and that is what he's doing now. Excuse me. And he actually, if something goes wrong up ahead, he actually has the opportunity to finish on the overall podium in a touring car. Now, after him, it should be Sado taking off. It's going to be quite a long wait for Sado to take off. He has to wait 2 minutes and 8 seconds from the fall of the checkered flag to actually take off. So we've only got 4 cars on the move at the moment. Although Shads appears to be really moving at the moment, as he's already making headway in catching up to Uncrewed Squid. Night Pegasus, he looks to have gained a little bit of time on the leaders. I'm not sure if he set off earlier than he was supposed to, but regardless, he's on the move. Dark Racing on the move as well. And Sado, yep, Sado's on the move as well. He'll be trying to catch up to Dark Racing 40. Lockie's moving as well, and we are still waiting for Colonel Lloyd to take off. So he'll have to catch up to the back of all the touring cars before he can actually have a go at the GT3 cars. And he's actually pulled off a little bit to the side there. Now, let's see. Colonel Lloyd has to wait 7 minutes before he's allowed to take off. So 7 minutes and 50 seconds from the fall of the green flag in order to take off. So it might be a little while before all the battles happens. And Xbox, stop listening. I do apologise, my Connect seems to have interrupted. Xbox, stop listening. Oh good, it didn't come up on the stream by the looks of things. Hello to Spark Destroyer, who's tuning into the chat. Lovely to see you along. And hello to all of the other 8 people who are apparently watching the stream at the moment. I'm not entirely sure how accurate that is. Now, let's see where the battles are at the moment. Shads has closed the gap to 4 seconds up front. So we could see a really, really interesting battle here in the near future. F in the chat for the Bentley, says Stark Destroyer. Stark Destroyer? No, Spark Destroyer. My apologies. And he's still not moving. So yes, that is definitely a big F. So if you're watching this later, press F in the chat for Colonel Lloyd, because he still hasn't had the opportunity to set off yet. And Shads is closing down Uncrewed Squid already. So we'll watch that space. However, I would like to have a look down here, because this was a very, very close battle before, and Sado and Lockie were supposed to set off at similar times. However, the gap's opened up between these two for whatever reason. Lockie certainly looks like he's pedaling though. However, he has lost a bit of time to Sado. More time than he should have actually. He's within 7 seconds of him, and he was only supposed to start, I believe, only 2 seconds apart, so he's lost a little bit of time. We'll watch this space for the moment. However, Lockie said he didn't want me watching him because in this series there seems to be a history of whoever is being watched by the cameraman at the time. They seem to have a history of spearing off the road. And Spark Destroyer in the chat, he is rooting for the number 6, which is being driven by Night Pegasus. Night Pegasus started the year in Aus-NZ Racing, towards the back of the field actually. He was mainly a back marker. However, in the Intercontinental GT Challenge, he seems to have made some massive improvements to his driving, and that is showing because he's currently third in the N24 at the moment, which is a really, really fantastic effort for Night Pegasus. So Night Pegasus, he could be your underdog, so if the leading 2 cars being Uncrewed Squid and Shads, if they have a problem, then Night Pegasus might have a shot at his first ever, I believe, his first ever Aus-NZ combined special event. Now let's see what's going on throughout the field. Lockie seems to have lost a bit more time to Sado. However, I'm not sure if that's just because of where he is on the track, but whatever the case. And Shads has caught up significantly to Uncrewed Squid, and Uncrewed Squid's off the road. He's had some sort of mishap. He spun off the road, and that means that Shads is up into the lead of this motor race in the number 93 Koseki Lamborghini. And Uncrewed Squid has already lost 8 seconds to Shads because of that spin, and that's of course not accounting for the damage that he most likely has to that Garage 59 McLaren. That's a terrible disappointment for Uncrewed Squid, and it's a terrible disappointment for me as well, because I was hoping to see a battle. Now, I can't see any major damage on that McLaren, so let's hope that was just a spin for Uncrewed Squid. Let's hope nothing terribly bad happened to that car. That's a massive shame for Uncrewed Squid. He was looking very, very strong. However, he's now 9 seconds back from Shads. And we have a new leader very early on. And if Shads can keep it together, it looks like he will have the opportunity to win this race. Now, let's see if anything else is happening throughout the field. It doesn't look like it is. The closest two cars on track right now, other than Shads and Uncrewed Squid, are Sado and Lockie, who I'm told were battling a lot over the course of the first session. Spark Destroyer saying, pressing a respectful F for the Garage 59 McLaren. Terrible disappointment. That is sort of continuing the trend of the Garage 59 McLaren. It spent a lot of time having crashes throughout the course of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, and it looks like that might be turning into the curse of the Garage 59 McLaren, which is not particularly ideal for anyone who wants to drive that car. However, Uncrewed Squid, he's still circulating and he doesn't appear to have any damage. Now, if we look at the timings, are we still on lap 1? Yes, we are still on lap 1. That just shows you how long the lap around here actually is, because we're still on lap 1 after quite a significant amount of time. And it looks like we are just finishing lap 1 now. Shads has gone on to lap 2 and is still 8 seconds ahead of Uncrewed Squid, who has just started his second lap, followed by Night Pegasus, who, if we look at the map, is quite a distance behind the leading two cars. The next car behind him is Dark Racing 40 in his number 42 Renault Megane, who, as I mentioned before, has a shot at the overall podium if one of the leading three cars has some kind of issue. And Colonel Lloyd, he's catching up to the field after a 7-minute wait after the fall of the checkered flag. That's how the time compression works. In fact, if we didn't have time compression, he'd be even further behind. And so, in this session, I think Colonel Lloyd will be focusing on trying to clear the TCR. Sorry, I keep saying TCR. Well, it is kind of TCR, because the BMW aren't in any of... Well, the BMW isn't here, so that means it's not technically the touring car class. This is actually all TCR cars. So, Colonel Lloyd has to clear all of those in the Abt Bentley. And the first of those cars to clear is Lockie, who has knocked out a headlight. That's probably why he's getting further and further behind Sado, and it looks like a motorbike coming towards us as he goes down, as he navigates those couple of corners. Except this isn't a motorbike you can fall off because it's a car. And I just realised how unprofessional I was because I just said that sentence. However, there isn't really much to commentate on at the moment because all of the cars are quite spread out at the moment. So I think we're still waiting for Sado and Lockie to eventually get together and hopefully have a battle on track. Now let's see who is gaining time. Uncrewed Squid appears to be... well, he's holding a consistent gap to Shads at the moment. So if he can keep that gap relatively small, he may have a chance of being quite close to him for the start of Session 3. Woody Lizard in the chat. Woody Lizard couldn't make it for this weekend. He had to do some family thing. And Woody Lizard has pointed out that this is the Moto 24 Hours... well, it is the Moto 24 Hours for Lockie. And I can imagine that that's making visibility quite difficult at the moment, because he's only got one headlight. And... oh, Sado's had a problem! Sado looks like he's had some sort of accident or some sort of spin, and Lockie's actually gone up into 5th place. And Sado's coming straight onto pit road, which indicates to me that he has some kind of damage. He was previously second in the TCR class, and now he's coming onto pit road. So it doesn't look like we are going to get the battle between Lockie and Sado, unless Lockie has a spin or something. Because Sado's coming onto pit road, and this might actually be quite a lengthy pit stop. See, there's all the scratches down the side of the car on screen, and that car is definitely stationary. And this may give Lockie an opportunity to clear the... not Lockie, sorry, Colonel Lloyd to clear the first of the TCR cars, and Sado is away. However, he is quite a significant distance behind Lockie, his nearest rival. Lockie now up into 5th place. Sado back out on track, he's now circulating once again. And I can't quite tell what the gap to Lockie is at the moment. Hopefully that car is in proper working order. Excuse me, once again. Sado is a quick driver, so he may be able to close that gap to the car in front. And he is now... he's over... yes, well that is quite a large gap to the car in front, which is Lockie. And it looks like mathematics has failed me, because I don't actually know what the gap is. Now there's two cars quite close together, if I can work this out. So that would be Uncrewed Squid and Shads at the very top of the map. They're the closest two cars by the looks of things on track. A 9-second gap between the two. And it looks like the gap is holding relatively consistent at the moment. And it looks like Shads is catching up to the back of Colonel Lloyd in the Bentley at the moment, so that will be very, very costly if Colonel Lloyd goes a lap down. Colonel Lloyd right now at 6 minutes and 46 seconds off the lead, off the overall lead. And we'll have to see if he is going to be able to catch up to the TCR cars over the course of the session, of course. Oh, and Shads has run quite wide in the carousel. He's not actually gone on the carousel, he's just gone over the top of it. So he may have outbroken himself there, and it's given, by the looks of things, it's given Uncrewed Squid the opportunity to catch up. So that was a little bit of a mistake from Shads. Not often you see Shads making a mistake, but it has cost him a second by the looks of things. So the field is relatively spread out at the moment. However, there is the opportunity, of course, for the field to bunch up once again, cars to be able to catch up to other cars, or cars to make mistakes, because there's still an hour and 20 minutes left in the session. And it looks like Uncrewed Squid might actually be closing the gap to Shads at the moment. That little mistake from Shads appears to have cost him a couple of seconds. So you don't want to be making mistakes like that, clearly. Because even small mistakes like that may leave you vulnerable. Shads 12 seconds up on his best lap delta. That'll be, of course, because this is lap number 2, if I'm not mistaken. We're still on lap 2, actually. That's how long the lap around here is. Which still boggles the mind how somebody can learn every single corner and every single inch of this track, i.e. Sabine Schmitz. However, she has had all the time in the world to learn this track. These drivers have only had a couple of weeks to readjust from racing on the Grand Prix circuit to racing on the full Nurburgring Nordschleife. And of course, Shad's actually in a different car. He swapped out his Acura that he drove throughout the course of the Intercontinental GT Championship to the Lamborghini. And of course, a couple of the other drivers in the field swapping out their cars for a touring car. So that might actually give the drivers who are participating in this race an opportunity to learn their cars for the British Touring Car Championship, which is coming up next for Aus-NZ combined. And actually, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll leave a link to the Aus-NZ combined Facebook page, because it really is a fantastic Xbox racing group, and Shads has just started lap 3 as a point of interest. They really are a fantastic sim racing group. They run off Facebook, and they also have their own website as well. And they have some of the cleanest Project Cars 2 racing that you will find anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, if you aren't Australian, you may be out of luck, because it is for Australians only. And it looks like Shads and Uncrewed Squid setting relatively similar lap times at the moment. By the looks of things, actually, we might take a moment to look at the timings. Uncrewed Squid actually a little bit faster than Shads at the moment, so he might actually be able to catch up to him. The gap appears to be just under 8 seconds at the moment between Shads and Uncrewed Squid. Uncrewed Squid, of course, having a spin earlier on in the session, on lap 1, I believe it was. And everyone's about a minute or 2 minutes. Well, everyone seems to be in a different minute. So Shads and Uncrewed Squid, they're within 7 seconds of each other. And Night Pegasus is another minute and 47 seconds behind the leaders. Then Dark Racing's, of course, the first of the touring cars, and he is currently dominating the touring car class at the moment, with a gap of over a minute to the car. Of around a minute to the car behind him, which is Lockie, who got by Sado after he had some kind of incident. Of course, Lockie, as Woody Lizard mentioned before, is participating in the Moto N24, 24 hours of Moto. What did he say again? The Moto 24 hours is what Woody Lizard described that as. Lockie's still driving around with one headlight. If we have a look at that, he is still driving around with one headlight, which is probably making visibility quite difficult at the moment. He probably damaged that in an incident which obviously didn't cost him very much time, because he was still able to get past Sado. And if we look at the timings again, who's setting the fastest times of TCR at the moment? It is, of course, Darky, who has set the fastest time of the touring car class so far, and has an absolutely enormous lead over Lockie. Speaking of enormous leads, one of the enormous leads has actually, well, not quite as enormous, but one of the leads has actually come down. The gap between Shads and Uncrewed Squid sitting at around 7.5 seconds at the moment, so Squid is actually catching up to Squid is actually catching up to Shads at the moment. So maybe perhaps later on in the session we will have a bit of a battle between these two, hopefully. Otherwise my job might not be particularly interesting. Now, Sado has dropped quite a lot behind Lockie. He's around 40-ish seconds behind Lockie at the moment. Now, Colonel Lloyd doesn't seem to have made much progress on catching up to the touring cars at the moment, which is quite interesting to see. And Spark Destroyer, yes, the Bentley does sound very good, actually. That, of course, that big V8 at the front of the car. And I believe this is actually the only front-mounted engined car in GT3 in this race, because Shads, Uncrewed Squid and Night Pegasus, they're all driving mid-engine cars, and the only other front-mounted cars in the race are the touring cars. So that Bentley, big V8 in the front, very old-fashioned, and quite an enormous car, actually. However, it still is quite a fast car, and actually one of the most underrated GT3 cars in the field. Spark Destroyer says it sounds better than the McLaren and the Lamborghini, and I have to agree with you on that one, actually. I believe it does sound better than those cars. The Lamborghini and the Audi are actually based on the same platform. They're effectively the same car, they both have the same engine, both part of the Volkswagen Group. In fact, most of the cars in the GT3 class at the moment are part of the Volkswagen Group, bar the McLaren of Uncrewed Squid. And the gap's actually opened up a bit between Uncrewed Squid and Shad, so Uncrewed Squid may have had some sort of issue, which means all the interesting things are happening off camera, which is rather annoying actually, because it means I don't have anything to commentate on. He may have had some sort of issue. However, I can still hear Shad's car, so he mustn't be that far behind him. Night Pegasus losing time to the front two cars, but he's still pounding around in the number 6 Audi, and if he could bring home a podium, that would be a fantastic result for the Nurburgring 24 Hours event. In fact, I think that would probably be a personal best for Night Pegasus and Aus-NZ combined. Now, is there anything going on at all? It doesn't look like there is. Everyone is very, very spaced out, and the fact that I don't actually have anyone to commentate with is a little bit problematic on the entertainment front. Of course, in most endurance races, the race kind of dies down around the middle of the race. Everyone just sort of settles into a groove. No use making a mistake in session 2 and costing yourself in session 3. At the end of the session, you have all the time in the world to make outlandish moves. However, there's no point doing it in the second session. And it looks like, I think probably Night Pegasus made that mistake in session 1, because apparently he put it into the wall with only 2 laps to go. Spark Destroyer pointing out, if it was Le Mans and there was a WEC, we'd know which one sounds the best. Spark Destroyer, of course, a serial Ford Chip Ganassi fan. So much so that he was willing to bet money on it at the Le Mans 24. Unless he isn't referring to the Ford GT, which would be rather unusual. Well, unusual for Spark Destroyer, anyway. Now, Shads is actually catching up to the back of Colonel Lloyd, so we might be able to see at least something happening on track. And I'm not sure how much, at what sort of rate he is catching up to Colonel Lloyd. But he is definitely catching him. It looks like that gap, judging by the map, is definitely smaller than it was before, so we might see a pass for something, even if it is only for track position. But so far, the only 2 changes to the running order. Shad's, of course, taking the lead after Uncrewed Squid looped his McLaren, and Lockie taking 2nd place in the TCR class after something happened with Sado. Now, if we do want to do post-race interviews, we might be able to ask what happened to Sado. And we might be able to do some post-race interviews and see, well, post-session interviews and see what happened. Shad's still leading the way at the start of lap 4. Uncrewed Squid, I believe, has also started lap 4, and the next to start lap 4 will be Night Pegasus in the Audi. we have a look at the timings again... Oh, I've just cut to Night Pegasus. And Woody Lizard was right. It does seem to be turning into the Moto 24 Hours, because Night Pegasus also only has one headlight as well. So we have two motorbikes on the racetrack at the moment. So let's play a game, shall we? Let's see who's only got one headlight. Colonel Lloyd has too many headlights. I think I just counted 6 headlights on his Bentley. Sado has both headlights working. Lockie is still running around with one headlight. I'm assuming that will be fixed in the next pit stop. Darky has both headlights. Night Pegasus, as we said before, only running in one headlight. Uncrewed Squid and Shads both have their headlights still. However, I will keep you posted on who has all of their headlights at the end of the race. So if you'd like to buy some premium race car headlights, get in touch with Aus-NZ Combined, and I'm sure we could set you up with some of the debris from this track. And Night Pegasus has come onto pit road. Night Pegasus, of course, looks like whatever happened to him, he must have picked up a significant amount of damage. The front of that car is looking very, very twisted at the moment, and that might be suspension damage. He's come onto pit road, and they are making repairs to that car. The car's still stationary. We'll have to see how long it stays stationary for to get an indication of how much damage that car actually has. It's giving Dark Racing the opportunity to catch up, which would be rather interesting to see a TCR car on the overall podium for the first time in this session. And Dark Racing looks like he might actually get past Night Pegasus. If he can't get out of the pit lane in time, we might have a new person on the podium, and it could be a TCR car. And whilst we wait to see what happens there, Spark Destroyer has predicted that Uncrewed Squid will take victory. We'll have to wait and see. Night Pegasus rolling down the pit lane, but Dark Racing's coming down the straight, and it looks like he's going to get past Night Pegasus. Dark Racing up into 3rd in the touring car class. So we have a touring car on the overall podium. Now this is very interesting indeed, because Night Pegasus is only a short distance behind Dark Racing in his GT3 Audi, so we might actually see a pass for an overall position. However, for the first time in this race, we touched on it during practice, there is a TCR car on the overall podium. Now if Dark Racing can hold this position, this would be very interesting to see a different class on the overall podium. However, I can actually see Night Pegasus in the background there. Spark Destroyer pressing another respectful F for Night Pegasus. Now Spark Destroyer seems to be the most respectful of any audience member I've ever had, because he's put more Fs in there than a Ferrari branded fire truck. And now, as we watch Dark Racing 40, and I apologise for my terrible analogy, you can see the yellow headlights of Night Pegasus, and by the way, he has both headlights once again, so we only have one Moto 24-hour car now running around, unless Lockie has paired his car, which I don't think he has. There he is, there's Night Pegasus, he's catching up to the back of Dark Racing 40. But I think I might watch this space for the time being, because this is very interesting indeed. In other news, it looks like Colonel Lloyd is about to be lapped in the Bentley. Now we'll have a quick look over to him just for the time being. I can't see the Lamborghini of Shads yet, and Sado's on pit road again. Sado's pitting again. I don't exactly know why. But whilst he does that, we'll have a look at Night Pegasus and Dark Racing. Now, let's have a look at the timings, actually, because I don't really know what's going on with this at the moment. I can't quite tell what the gap is. And Night Pegasus is catching Dark Racing 40 at a rate of knots. This is a very long pit stop for Sado, so it looks like he's got some kind of damage. This is, of course, a very tricky track. So it's easy to make mistakes. Sado is rolling on pit road again. Spark Destroyer's predicting that Dark Racing will lose the podium. It is very likely, but Dark Racing's a quick driver, so he actually might be able to hold it. However, it doesn't look like... It looks like Spark Destroyer will probably be right, because it's very close between these two. Night Pegasus has caught up to the back of Dark Racing 40, and I don't think he'll hold them up for too long. They are right near each other now, and Night Pegasus will have an opportunity to make a move on Dark Racing 40 in the near future. So this is actually the first proper move for position that we've seen in this race so far. Night Pegasus still chasing down Dark Racing in his run-up again, and Sado's left the session. Sado has retired. We have lost one of the 3 touring car cars in this race. Sado's race has gone from bad to worse. When it rains, it pours, and Sado is gone. Oh dear. Sado, of course, actually hosting, will actually put this N24 event together, because Woody is away, and he's actually not even in his own race anymore. 6 cars circulating, and that means Colonel Lloyd has gained a place because Sado has disconnected. And Uncrewed Squid has dropped a massive amount of time to Shads. I don't exactly know. Let's see if we can work out what's happened to Uncrewed Squid. He must have had some kind of spin, because there didn't appear to be any damage to that car. Apparently the gap is 18 seconds up front, and I doubt that Shads, he is a quick driver, but I doubt he would have pulled that much of a gap on Uncrewed Squid. So it looks like Uncrewed Squid's having some kind of podium problem, and Night Pegasus had a little bit of an off. It looks like he's invalidated his lap time. Triangle next to his name, so I'm assuming he's gone off the road somewhere. And Colonel Lloyd's coming onto pit road for his first pit stop of the race. Or unless he has damage or something. Oh, and Night Pegasus has made the move on Dark Racing and reclaims his podium position. Looks like Dark Racing staying with him though, so we might watch that space. Now let's see how we can work out what's going on here. Colonel Lloyd's come onto pit road, and so has Uncrewed Squid. Now there looks to be a little bit of damage to that Bentley. Let's see if we can work out how much damage there is on this McLaren. There doesn't appear to be that much damage. Let's see if we can get a chase cam and see if there's damage to the back. No, there isn't. We'll go trackside. This is a very long fuel stop. It looks like there was a significant amount of damage to Colonel Lloyd's Bentley, and it looks like they're repairing the McLaren. So it looks like this track is seemingly catching some of these drivers out. Colonel Lloyd is rolling on pit road. The bonnet of that Bentley has caved in a little bit. Uncrewed Squid is still stationary at the moment. It looks like that car had a lot more damage than we thought. He's rolling again though. I don't know how close Night Pegasus is to him at the moment. I don't think he is that close. Uncrewed Squid retains second place, but is now quite far behind Shads. Sado 15 tuning in. Spark Destroyer is continuing to press F. Spark Destroyer feels sad for Sado. Now, Sado, if you could type in the chat what's actually happened, we'd like to know. I'm assuming it was a disconnect of some kind, unless you deemed your car too damaged to continue for whatever reason. That's a bit of a shame. I was hoping to see a little bit of a battle between Sado and Lockie, but it doesn't look like we are going to get that. Let's see what else is happening on track at the moment. Dark Racing 40, he's still behind Night Pegasus. Night Pegasus has actually pulled out quite a large gap to Dark Racing. However, Dark Racing still dominating TCR at the moment. He has a minute and 17 lead over Locky 5s at the moment. Those are the only 2 remaining TCR cars left in the race. And Colonel Lloyd seems to have picked up more damage. All along the right-hand side of that car. It's very, very damaged. That will explain why he was in the pits for so long. Sado15 in the chat saying that his Xbox necked itself. Right, well, I didn't know that Xboxes could do that. I didn't even know Xboxes had necks, for that matter. But that is unfortunate for Sado, which means we only have 2 of the starting 3 TCR cars left in the race. Well, in this session anyway. I'm sure Sado will probably be joining us for session 3 tomorrow. And of course the time compression system will help him out as well, which means that he may be able to get back in this race. Spark Destroyers replied to Sado saying, "Lol, that's relatable." Oh, and is that a car that stopped? I thought that was a car. I think that may have just been some lights. Shads has pulled a 1 minute and 21 second gap over Uncrewed Squid. Night Pegasus still in 3rd. Dark Racing continuing to extend his gap over Locky in the number 15 Mercedes, which is still going. Oh, and he's run a little bit off the track there. That looks like the broadcaster's blunder. Commentator's curse doesn't really fit, but that seems to happen a lot in Aus-NZ. When the cameraman looks at Locky, he makes a mistake. So he's still going Moto 24, as we mentioned before. And Sado pointing out that Shad still needs to pit, so that gap out front could come down. However, that was a lengthy pit. The pit stops that we've seen so far have been quite lengthy because of the damage that the other cars had. And there doesn't appear to be a scratch on that number 93 Kosecki Lamborghini. I will try to remember that, because I keep forgetting for some reason. Let me put my laptop on charge, because it is running out of charge. There we go. Shad's still leading the way on lap 5. Let's have a look at the lap times again. Uncrewed Squid. His lap time, his fastest lap is still faster than Shad's. However, his last lap time was 20 seconds slower than Shad's. Locky's picked up a 1 second penalty. I'm assuming that's for cutting the course a little bit. And in the words of iRacing, he would have had to slow down and give up the time gained. Spark Destroyers calling hashtag justice for the Bentley. Well, you say that. I'm not sure if justice is really required, because I think the Bentley's problems might be because of the driver's doing. Oh no, that's a big incident for Colonel Lloyd. It looks like another case of the broadcaster's blunder, and that the front of that Bentley is looking very twisted again, and we may be seeing that car on pit lane once again. He got his wheel cut in the grass. He dipped his wheel into the grass a little bit and ended up in the barriers. And that means that Shads is now gaining on track. You'd actually, oh no, that's actually Uncrewed Squid. So, Colonel Lloyd has actually been lapped by Shads, and look at the front of that Bentley; it's very broken, and he is about to be lapped by Uncrewed Squid. You can actually see the headlights of the McLaren in the background. Spark Destroyer saying it's a Bentley, it will survive. Yes, but while it is a Bentley, it may also have quite a bit of it may be a Bentley with quite a bit of suspension damage, and it is also a Bentley with a McLaren that's a lap ahead behind it. So I don't think it will fight too hard unless Colonel Lloyd really wants to stay on the lead lap. Uncrewed Squid, yep, he's done the sensible thing. He's in a damaged car and he's let Uncrewed Squid go by in the McLaren as the sun begins to rise over the Nurburgring Nordschleife. However, not time for the headlights to go off yet, and Colonel Lloyd's run off the track again. I think the broadcast blunder might be having an influence on his driving at the moment, so I might leave him alone for the bit, for the time being. Shad's still commanding the race. Uncrewed Squid having just cleared Colonel Lloyd. Still 1 minute and 20 seconds behind the leader. Night Pegasus has lost both of his headlights, so when... oh, dearie me. Night Pegasus is having a lot of issues at the moment, which may give... I don't believe it! Dark Racing's gone through on Night Pegasus! Both headlights are off on that number 6 Audi, which means that we aren't even playing Moto 24 anymore. We're playing no headlights 24. So he's obviously put that car in the barrier a few times, as one of those times we just saw then, and it's cost him a lot of time, which means that Dark Racing 40 has just put his Renault Megane back up into 3rd place. And because of all that damage, we may be seeing Night Pegasus make a trip to pit lane, and he'll probably be on there for a while, considering the amount of damage to that car, which means that Dark Racing will have a significant gap to Night Pegasus after he makes his inevitable pit stop. And Night Pegasus' position may not even be safe for 4th, because Lockie may be able to catch up to him. So, for the second time in this race, we have a touring car on the overall podium, which is very interesting to see. Spark Destroyer is mentioning a brake check on someone. I don't actually know what he's referring to. The big problems for Night Pegasus, and the pit lane is still a significant distance away. Luckily, I think it's just bright enough for Night Pegasus to see where he's going. However, the fact that he doesn't have any headlights certainly won't help. And Colonel Lloyd on pit lane again. Obviously this was due to the fact that he suffered an incident earlier in this lap, and that is a lot of damage. That was a heavy hit he had on the wall, and he will probably be in the pit lane for quite a long time. I believe this is his 2nd or 3rd stop of the race. Doesn't look like they changed tyres. They are putting, the Abt Bentley crew are putting fuel in again, which probably isn't ideal. I'm not sure if this is some, obscure strategy move. And it looks like they are making repairs to that car. Colonel Lloyd's still on pit road, and he's finally rolling once again. That Bentley's not having a good time at all. Night Pegasus not having a good time either, and he will probably also be making a trip to pit lane this time around. He's almost made it back to pit lane. However, he is in a GT3 car, so he probably will catch up to Dark Racing by the end of the session. If not this session, he'll get past him in the next one. So he still has the opportunity to score, I believe, his first Aus-NZ combined podium. Spark Destroyer hitting us with another hashtag. Bentley will survive. He probably will survive. It's just a matter of its quality of life, because it is, I believe, probably a lap and a half down at this point to the overall lead, and even with time compression there will still be a lengthy gap between it and the leaders. However, it does have a very fast driver at the wheel of it, so I wouldn't discount it just yet. And with Night Pegasus' inevitably lengthy pit stop, it may actually be able to catch up to someone. front of that car is looking very damaged, though. However, I don't think it's worth a, I don't think it will take 5 minutes, I believe, to fix that car, because that is roughly the gap between Knight Pegasus and Colonel Lloyd at the moment. However, depending on the length of the pit stop, it may give Lockie a chance to catch up and actually overtake somebody for the overall lead. We are also just noticing that it is slowly turning to day. The sun is rising over the Nurburgring, which you can see from the beautiful sunrise that you can see in the background as Knight Pegasus goes down the straight and dips a wheel in the grass. And Dark Racing's on pit lane. Dark Racing is on pit lane. This is very important for the overall podium. Now, assuming that Knight Pegasus makes a pit stop now, he will not be getting past Dark Racing. Dark Racing's car still looking relatively clean at this point. Now, it looks like the Renault crew, they did some tyres. Not a particularly lengthy pit stop. There may be a little bit of damage to that car because that is staying stationary for longer than expected. However, it won't do too much for the actual overall podium at the moment. Knight Pegasus brings it onto pit road. However, that will be a lengthy pit stop for sure. So we have 2 cars on pit road, 3rd and 4th in the overall standings. However, I am fairly certain that Dark Racing 40 will get away first. Could be tight though. Oh, and Knight Pegasus, they've brought up the pit board, so they've obviously finished their service to the number 6 Audi. However, these 2 cars are on pit road for much more time than I expected. I'm not entirely sure how much. I didn't even know that Dark Racing had any damage, but apparently he does. So these 2 are on pit road for way longer than expected, and it's giving Lockie an opportunity to catch these 2. So we may have a battle in touring cars. Dark Racing 40's finally on the move again. However, it looks like Lockie may be in contention for something here. He is not too far behind Dark Racing at this point. Dark Racing's just re-entering the track, and Knight Pegasus is rolling. But Lockie, oh, and Lockie's also coming onto pit lane as well. It looks like he's finally going to fix that broken headlight, so it doesn't look like the order's going to change that much. I was hoping for a battle, so I'm slightly disappointed. Dark Racing 40 has come out ahead of Knight Pegasus. That Audi looking very poorly at the moment. However, we'll have to watch this space, because these cars, while in different classes, are actually the closest 2 cars on track. This is another lengthy. Well, the number 15 Mercedes crew has just finished refueling that car. I know it does have some damage, so it will probably be stationary for quite a lot of time, considering the fact that it was running Moto N24 for a significant amount of time. Lockie 5 is now rolling on pit road, so that wasn't too long in terms of pit stops. No one's on pit lane at the moment. So the gaps look like this. Shads has been commanding the race since the end of lap 1 after Uncrewed Squid spun out. Uncrewed Squid is a minute and 10 seconds roughly, or minute and 12 now, behind Shads. Dark Racing 40, he is the underdog. He is a touring car on the overall podium, and he's just put it in the wall. So that probably won't help his case. So this will be the car to watch, I reckon, because it's the only touring car on the overall podium. Knight Pegasus is a relatively competitive GT3 car that has fallen off the overall podium since the start of the race. So it will be the battle between these 2 on who crashes the least. If Knight Pegasus crashes the most, we could have a touring car on the overall podium. If Dark Racing either crashes or Knight Pegasus doesn't crash, then Knight Pegasus will presumably retake that 3rd place. Lockie, he's quite far down in his Mercedes. However, he's still pounding round. He's still second in class at the moment, so that'll be a very, very good second place if he can bring that home. And Colonel Lloyd's having a wretched day. That car's been to pit road a few more times than he would have hoped for. It's looking very, very battered at the moment. And it's looking pretty grim. He's 9 minutes and 47 seconds off the overall lead, and he is more than 2 minutes behind Lockie Fives. It's very, very disappointing to see a competitive driver this far down the order. But Shad's still putting on his usual dominant performance. Still immensely far ahead. Shad's. Now, I'll run through a few of Shad's stats from this year so far. At the start of the year, he won the 24 Hours at Daytona. Actually, I can read these out to you. Spark Destroyer is asking why the Bentley started so far down. I don't actually know, because there wasn't actually a stream for session 1. I'm assuming it just had a terrible session. Now, I have my laptop on my lap again, where it belongs, because it's a laptop, and I'm going onto the archives of Aus-NZ Combined, which is a really, really useful feature they've added to the website that they have. So, Shad started off the year with a victory at the 24 Hours at Daytona for Aus-NZ Combined. He took out the victory in the LMP2 class with his number 51 Cobwell Motorsport Ligier JSP2 Nissan. He also set the fastest lap in his class as well. Oh no, sorry, that was... My apologies, that was the Raw before the 24-hour session. So yes, Shads did actually win an LMP2 with the 51 car, however he didn't set the fastest lap in his class. My apologies, I got that wrong. Now, after that, he went on to win the Ferrari F355 Challenge. And when it comes to his IndyCar exploits from this year, he didn't win the championship. However, he did win the Indianapolis 500. So it was a little disappointing that he wasn't able to win the championship, but like I said, that's sort of made up by the fact he won the Indianapolis 500. Then after that, he went on to win the Route 6. Oh, sorry. Before that, he actually won the Route 66 to Daytona 500 special event. So that was our event based off the Daytona 500. Then, of course, he won the Indianapolis 500. Who won the Imola 4 hours? Let's have a look. Shads won the Imola 4 hours. So the events that he has won. So what he's won so far. Let's sum this up very quickly. Shads has won the Daytona 24 Hours this year, the Ferrari F355 Challenge, the Indianapolis 500, the Route 66 to Daytona 500, the Imola 4 Hours, the Intercontinental GT Challenge Championship, along with Cosmic Robbie, and he also won the Le Mans 24 Hours overall in the LMP1 class. So that is an absolutely stupendous year for Shads so far, and it looks like he's well on his way to winning the Nurburgring 24 Hours, because the gap is now 1 minute and 28 seconds at the front, because Uncrewed Squid has lost his rear wing and lost a headlight. I'm assuming he spun that car at some point. I don't think he would have had any help with that. Spark Destroyer saying Shads should go for some kind of Triple Crown. Well, Shads has actually won the Aus-NZ Combined Triple Crown. He has won the the Le Mans 24 Hours, the Indianapolis 500, and the Bathurst 1000. So he's won the Aus-NZ combined Triple Crown. So he's already ahead of you, Spark Destroyer. He's actually won the Triple Crown already. And it looks like when it rains it pours for Uncrewed Squid, because the only other contender in this race has significant damage and will have to make a visit to pit lane because he's got no rear wing and no headlights. So it looks like Moto N24 is back. Oh, and Dark Racing, and it looks like Night Pegasus has finally caught up to the back of Dark Racing. And it looks like Night Pegasus is going to drag by Dark Racing 40 and take his place once again on the overall podium. However, with how topsy-turvy this race has been so far, I wouldn't bet on it staying that way. Lucky Fives, he's actually kept his headlights for the time being, so the only car being a Moto N24 at the moment is Uncrewed Squid, who I'm assuming will make a trip to the pit lane. I wonder if Colonel Lloyd's got all of his headlights. Colonel Lloyd does have all of his headlights. Uncrewed Squid still pounding round. Oh dear! He's put it in the wall again. And that front bumper's hanging on by a thread. It's moving around, and I'm assuming, so there's bodywork damage, there's aero damage, he's lost a headlight, and I'm assuming there's a lot of suspension damage as well. So the car that is currently second place in this race is about to lose even more time to the leaders. Once the leader. And I reckon it would be a good idea for Shads to make a pit stop at this point, because he will probably still get out ahead with quite some margin ahead of second place. This track is incredibly demanding. You cannot lose your focus for even a second, and it looks like Uncrewed Squid has lost his focus at various points, and it looks like that's cost him, and he will have to come on to pit road very shortly. The gap is opening up to Shad's in front of him even as we speak, and he's not even made his pit stop yet. Very, very disappointing for Uncrewed Squid. Leading the race at the start of the session before spinning the car on lap 1, losing the lead to Shads. The gap then opened up to about 9 seconds, and then he's continued to have problems over the course of the race. He had a very lengthy pit stop, assuming that he had damage at that point, and now he's got even more damage as well. Now I think he's just in the, well, he's not quite in the final sector of the track yet, but once he gets there, I'm assuming he'll make a trip to pit road. The gap to the car in front is nearly 2 minutes now. And I'm assuming that gap will get significantly larger. Oh, that car's not going to be easy to drive. That car is not going to be easy to drive. It's got no rear wing, and he's still running around at racing pace, which is quite impressive to see, considering a car that's probably got significant suspension damage. And that rear bumper is also hanging on by a thread as well. It does look a bit of a handful. Oh, there goes the rear bumper. Yep, there it goes. It's fallen off. There goes the rear bumper. That car is falling apart. And you can actually see all of the exhaust systems and whatnot. Oh, and Dark Racing's gone up into P3 again. I'm assuming that Night Pegasus has run off the road. I told you shouldn't bet on this staying the same. However, it looks like Night Pegasus is probably going to go back through in a moment's time. There is damage once again on the front of that Audi. He may have put it in the wall. That's why we are seeing this battle for position, even though it's in two different classes. We could actually see Dark Racing on the overall podium at the end of the session in the Renault Megane in the touring cars. Oh, Night Pegasus is looking very slow there. I think he almost went off there. And if I'm not mistaken, Dark Racing's actually pulling away in the touring car. He's very consistent at the moment. He's only a second off his best lap time. And it appears that Uncrewed Squid, yep, just as we thought, he's coming onto pit road. And what is expected to be a very, very lengthy pit stop as Dark Racing continues to pull away from Night Pegasus, who is now 2 seconds behind, roughly. Now, Spark Destroyer is asking how did the Audi lose its third. I'm assuming it had a spin, and the Garage 59 crew are making... I think we lost audio there for a second. The Garage 59 crew is making repairs to that McLaren, and they're also refueling it as well. This may be a strategy call, and I'm assuming it's going to stay there for quite some time as well. However, the closest battle on track appears to be Dark Racing and Night Pegasus, and Dark Racing's pulled out a 4-second gap to Night Pegasus behind. So this is kind of an underdog drive at the moment from Dark Racing, who's actually outperforming GT3 cars, 2 of them in fact. Looks like Colonel Lloyd's run into more issues. He's now nearly 11 minutes off the overall lead. That gap's actually grown from 9 seconds to even more time. And I think Night Pegasus has thought it time to turn off the headlights now, just as he decides to cut the grass. That'll be the gardener's job done. And Uncrewed Squid is only just coming off the pit lane now. Dark Racing still 4 minutes behind. However, let's see how far he's behind Shads. He is 3 minutes and 16 seconds behind Shads, so that gap is growing by the minute by the looks of things. Just as we are about to head into the last half an hour of session 2. Unfortunately, it hasn't been the most exciting of sessions. However, I hope that I've been able to make this relatively entertaining. The most entertaining thing that's happened so far is that Dark Racing is defying all of the odds at the moment and is outperforming that car significantly, putting it up into 3rd place, just as Colonel Lloyd comes onto pit road yet again. That car missing a rear wing and its front bodywork hanging on by a thread. The apt Bentley crew get to work on that car, and it looks like it's going to be in the pit lane for quite some time. Spark Destroyer is complimenting me on my commentary. Thank you very much. I'm glad you are enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube as well, you aren't watching live, but I hope you're enjoying the show just as much as well. If you are watching on YouTube, you'll be able to check the description and go and come and join Aus-NZ Combined and come and experience some of the racing that you've seen on YouTube over the past couple of weeks, and also some of the racing that you're seeing today. You get to drive a wide variety of cars on a wide variety of circuits, and Dark Racing 40 had a bit of a scary moment there. And Colonel Lloyd is still stuck on pit lane. And Dark Racing's holding a very consistent gap to Night Pegasus behind. If anything, I'm actually surprised that Night Pegasus hasn't pulled away. I think Night Pegasus just needs to refocus, not make any mistakes, make a decisive pass on Dark Racing 40 and hold his 3rd place. The sun is rising over the Nurburgring Nordschleife, which means the track temperatures will rise as well. Let's see if our drivers have come up with a balanced setup that can handle both the cool conditions of the night and the hot conditions of the day. Now, Night Pegasus should be able to catch up to Dark Racing down the straight here. And you can see that Audi catching at a rate of knots. These touring cars are no slouch, but they're nothing compared to these GT3 cars. The gap just under a second between Night Pegasus and Dark Racing. That Audi with significantly more straight line speed. I think it's got around 500 brake horsepower as Dark Racing loses his car a little bit. Spark Destroyer, I'll get to your comment in a moment, but I just want to see if Night Pegasus can get by Dark Racing in the near future. It looks like a move will happen if Dark Racing, Night Pegasus can keep it together. Oh yes, the GT3 car is a lot better on the brakes than the touring cars. Gap is 1.5 seconds now, though. That's just a testament to how good of a driver that Dark Racing is. He's always been one of the quickest drivers in the series, and he's showing that today because he's outperforming that Renault Megane superbly. And I'm getting a phone call. Why did I know that was going to happen? I knew something like that was going to happen. I knew I was going to get a phone call during the race. And I know what it's for as well. We have some sort of plan. Me and my friends have some sort of plan to go go-karting tomorrow, but I'm not sure how well that plan is going to go. Hence the phone call. Anyway, since the gap has grown a little bit between... Well, it's holding pretty consistent between Dark Racing and Night Pegasus at the moment. I'll get to Spark Destroyer's question. Can you join for a one-off race? Yes, you can join up for a one-off race. We have... Aus-NZ has two different types of events. They have the special events and they have the full season events. This is one of the special events that we have throughout the year. He also wants to know if you have to join for a full season. You can join for a full season, but you do not necessarily have to. I recommend coming along, and no matter what your skill level is, you'll always find someone to battle here in Aus-NZ combined, and I'm sure you'll have some fun if you come and join us. Battle still on for third place between Dark Racing and Night Pegasus. It's a very, very peculiar race, and it looks like the gap's closing up at the front here. It's closed a little bit up at the front. I'm going to assume that Shads has made a pit stop, but I've been too busy watching this battle here. Not for a class position, but for actual overall position. Dark Racing just putting his headlights off. He's deemed it bright enough to be able to see. He's put the headlights off. It's probably the early hours of the morning here at the Nurburgring. Sun's just come up, and you can see again. Spark Destroyer says he wants to do the Indianapolis 500. We have already done the Indianapolis 500 for this year, so you'll have to wait till next year. Oh, Dark Racing nearly ran off the track there. Pushing a little bit too hard, and it looks like Night Pegasus is going to go through again on Dark Racing. The touring car is off the overall podium, and Night Pegasus is where he's expected to be. So you'll have to wait till next year for the Indianapolis 500. However, we still do have quite a few more special events that we are doing this year, and I'm sure you'll enjoy at least one of them. We have the Back to the Future Le Mans that we are doing in late August, which we'll be driving Group C cars around the vintage Le Mans circuit. Group C cars, of course, the 80s equivalent to LMP1. And we'll get to drive those cars around the vintage Le Mans circuit with the big long Mulsanne straight without any of the chicanes. So we'll probably get speeds of up to 200 plus miles an hour, 215 plus miles an hour. And if by chance you can max out those cars, you might even be able to break speeds of over 240 miles an hour, which will be impressive to see. Oh goodness me, I almost quit the session. I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that. Smart Destroyer saying you can't drive PT2 unless it's on ovals. Well, I would have a little bit more faith in your ability, because I'm sure you'll find at least someone to battle with in this series, and you're only going to get better at road course racing if you do it more. And I find that being beaten actually gives you a chance to learn, it gives you a chance to improve, and that's actually what I've been doing over the past couple of years. Now, what's going on? I think there may be some lapping going on. I thought I did see some lapping. And it looks like Lockie is about to get lapped by somebody. Let's see if we can work out who that is. That is actually Shads. Lockie is about to go off the overall league lap. Not that that's really an issue for him. Oh, and Shad's running off the track there. He's pushing a little bit too hard. However, it looks like he'll probably be lapping Lockie momentarily. Not that it really matters though, because it's not for class position. The only place where it really does matter is the battle between Night Pegasus and Dark Racing 40. Shads, the gap between Uncrewed Squid and Shads is 2 minutes and 40 seconds, just as the number 93. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of contact between those two, and Lockie's put the car in the barrier. Oh dearie me, you do not want to do that. Trouble with lap traffic, it is something you have to deal with during endurance racing, but we wouldn't want to see the leader taken out. Well, actually we kind of would, considering that it might make the race a little bit more interesting, but we don't want to see the race leader being taken out by lap traffic, especially lap traffic in a different class. That was very close. I'm not sure if Shads was very affected by that, but Lockie certainly was. Come on, gents, keep it clean out there. There's still another session to go. Lockie also sharing that car with AJD. I'm not sure if AJD made an appearance during session 1. He might make an appearance during the final session, but keep it clean, boys. We don't want to take each other out before the end of the session, and you don't want to ruin it for your teammate. Actually, there's only one team car in this race, and that's Lockie and AJD in the 15 car. However, you don't want to ruin your teammate's race. Night Pegasus and Darky are still very close together. Oh, and Dark Racing's gone off the track. It looks like the broadcaster's blunder. It seems that I may be be able to distribute the broadcaster's blunder. Now, the broadcaster's blunder is a term that I've coined tonight, actually, in which the broadcaster looks at a certain driver and that driver makes a mistake because the commentator's curse doesn't quite cut it, because the broadcasters also have to direct what's going on the screen. So, that being said, we might give Shads a bit of a watch and see if something happens. Spark Destroyer saying, I'm surprised this touring car can keep up with the R8. Well, I'm surprised too. However, it is Dark Racing behind the wheel of that car, and Dark Racing has been a very, very successful driver, and he's a very quick driver, and I've always known him to be a quick driver. He came second at the Le Mans 24 Hours this year, which is a superb result in the LMP1 class. He was driving the Audi R18, sorry, not the R8. That would be quite slow if he'd been driving the R8 in the Le Mans 24 Hours. But he's a quick driver, and he's showing that today. I got a ping on Discord, but it doesn't look like there's anything there. Anyway, whatever the case, we're watching Shads, who is 52 seconds down on his fastest lap for some reason. I'm assuming he's either Barnall made a pit stop, however I can really imagine Shad's actually spinning. Spark Destroyer having a little bit of a break from today's action. He says, "Be right back in the chat." Thank you, Spark Destroyer, for actually, you know, he's interacting with the chat, which is really, really cool to see. And Night Pegasus has cleared Darky by quite some margin now. He's pulled out a 9-second gap to Dark Racing behind him. Dark Racing may have had some kind of incident, but then again, he's also in a touring car, so that's imaginable that he would be losing time to Night Pegasus. Night Pegasus now opening up the gap to 10 seconds. Night Pegasus back on the overall podium. If he can get this overall podium, that'll be a fantastic result for him. Hopefully he can hold on to it till the end of the race. However, I am kind of enjoying this action that we're seeing between Darky and Night Pegasus. It's interesting to see some inter-class battle. And Lockie's coming onto pit lane again. Ooh, something's wrong with that car there. It's looking a little bit done in, that car. The front bumper seems to be hanging on by a thread, or at least it's caved in a little bit. Lots of scratches, lots of dings and dents. I think he may have had some sort of issue, and it was a very short pit stop. Looks like it was he was just coming in for a splash of fuel with 16 minutes to go. And Shads appears to have lapped almost the entire field. Shad's absolutely dominating this race. Uncrewed Squid, he'll be disappointed with this session. He was looking to be very, very competitive early on, but it didn't look like it wasn't to be, because he spun it on lap 1 and then has continued to make mistakes over the course of the session. However, he's still pounding round, and hopefully with time compression we'll see an interesting battle towards the end of the race. But then again, the gap between these two drivers will still be quite large, even with the time compression applied. Still, anything can happen. However, Shads is a tough man to beat, as he's only moments away from starting his 11th lap of the session. Let's see if anything's going on, anything interesting. Night Pegasus continuing to open up the gap between Dark Racing and himself. And I think Uncrewed Squid is opening up the gap to Night Pegasus. Caitlin Penny tuning in to the chat. She is a regular on Motorsport Recently, which you can watch on the YouTube channel. This video will also, of course, be available on YouTube after the session has concluded. She says in the chat, "Hey there, guys. I love the Nurburgring, but I don't get how anyone finishes here. Crazy race." It has been a crazy race so far, because we've been seeing some inter-class battles between Dark Racing 40 in his Renault Megane and Night Pegasus in his Audi R8. Sado15 also tuning in, saying plenty of pit stops are usually needed, and yes, there has been plenty of pit stops, especially for Colonel Lloyd in his Bentley, who has had a lot of incidents over the course of the race. And even if we look at Colonel Lloyd's Bentley at the moment, Actually, it is looking healthier than it was before, but for most of this race, we've just seen that it's been dinged and dented with a caved-in bonnet. No, Caitlin, that is not true. There is more than one GT3 in the race. Shads is leading this race in the, and I keep forgetting the name of it, which is rather annoying. That's several times I have forgotten the name of the car he's driving. He's driving the Koseki number 93 Lamborghini. So he is leading the race at the moment. Uncrewed Squid is also driving the Garage 59 McLaren. Night Pegasus is driving the Audi R8 LMS, and Colonel Lloyd at the back of the field is driving the Apt Racing number 38 Bentley Continental GT3. We started off the session with 3 touring cars, however Sato 15 disconnected earlier in the race. He was driving the Opel Astra, however we only have a Renault and a Mercedes left in the race. Caitlin saying, I mean non-GT3s as in the Megane. No, there were 3 touring cars. Oh yes, and I think they have just worked that out now. But yes, it has been a crazy race, and there has been a lot of pit stops, mainly with pit stops and the like. However, there hasn't actually been that much in the way of on-track battles, as Shads does a little bit of grass cutting there. The field has been pretty spaced out throughout the race. We could have had the potential for a battle between the top 2, which would have been for Shads and Uncrewed Squid. Uncrewed Squid was actually leading at the start of the session, but then spun on lap 1 and has had a difficult session ever since. Oh, and Night Pegasus. Problems for Night Pegasus. That is a big impact. That is a big chunk of car that he is missing. And the whole front bonnet of that car is gone, and it is now an open wheel car. The bonnet is now missing. He's obviously put it in the wall. He's gone in extremely hard, which means that he'll have more suspension damage, which means that Dark Racing 40 will go onto the podium once again with 10 minutes to go. Night Pegasus not having the most consistent of races in the number 6 Phoenix Audi, and he'll definitely have to make a pit stop, and he is now vulnerable to Dark Racing. And you can actually see Dark Racing in the background. Only a 2-second gap between these two once again. So prepare for some inter-class battling once more. Caitlin pointing out that's an odd point on the crash. Yes, words have worked there. That's an odd point of the track to crash on, and she wonders what happens there. I wonder what happened there too. I'm pretty sure he probably just lit up the rears or something and put it in the wall. However, that is a lot of damage to the Audi. The whole bonnet's missing, and I'm assuming that there is a lot of suspension damage, a lot of aero damage that will need to be attended to. And I'm expecting a pit stop this time by as well. And depending on how the remainder of the session goes, we may have a TCR car on the overall podium going into the final session of the race. Night Pegasus is coming onto the start-finish straight and has opted to stay out. Obviously deciding that the damage is not bad enough to pit for. Spark Destroyer saying it's been a really exciting race to watch so far. Well, parts of it have been exciting, yes, especially these inter-class battles that we are getting. I know it's very strange to see, but I'm rather enjoying it, actually. Now I need to put my laptop on charge again because it's running out of charge again. Dark Racing appearing to catch up to Night Pegasus in his wounded Audi R8. And this is actually the closest on-track battle at the moment, which is rather interesting. Right, we're back. Sorry, I had some mic issues there. Now, usually our multi-class races do go a lot better than this. However, because the entry list was quite small for this round, for this race, it's produced stuff like this, some inter-class battling. The last multi-class race we did, the Le Mans 24 Hours, that went a lot better because we had a lot more consistent numbers and a lot bigger grid. This race wasn't entirely sanctioned by the usual people that set up the Aus-NZ events. Sado15 set this up and he's done a brilliant job to set it up. However, I think a lot of people were put off by the track and not actually knowing it. Woody Lizard, who usually organises these events, he was away this weekend doing family things, which meant that he wasn't around to set this event up, and that's a bit of a shame. But we're still being treated to this very, very peculiar inter-class battle, and I am very much enjoying it, and it seems that you guys are enjoying it as well. Gap around 1 second between Dark Racing and Night Pegasus at the moment. Night Pegasus, interestingly, opting not to pit after sustaining heavy damage to the front of that Audi R8, losing the entire bonnet on the last lap, just before the start of lap 11. Still very, very close. Well, it's amazingly close between these two. I'm just beginning to imagine if Dark Racing had actually gone in the GT3 class, he would have actually had a chance at the overall victory if he's keeping up with Night Pegasus this well. It wouldn't have been the cleanest of races for Night Pegasus though, but if he can finish on the overall podium, that'll be a fantastic result for him. And we have 5 minutes to go. So if we look at the leaders, Shads will be about to start his final lap of the session, having dominated since lap 1. So lap 12 will be the final lap of the race. Still close between Night Pegasus and Dark Racing. We'll watch that space for the time being. Oh, an Uncrewed Squid with a huge crash! Uncrewed Squid's put the Garage 59 McLaren into the wall once again, and the side windscreen is cracked, and there will be a lot of damage to the right-hand side of that car. However, it is now the final lap. Rather interesting that I clicked onto Uncrewed Squid just at the moment he went into the wall. So he's opted not to pit, coming onto the final lap. Shads has started the final lap. He's just beginning to navigate the Nordschleife for the final time. Actually, I think he's been on this lap for quite some time now, actually. So it looks like this lap will probably be the final lap of the race, unless he can squeeze one more lap in. And it'll be interesting to see if we will go for one more lap. Dark Racing still holding it against Night Pegasus. If Night Pegasus makes even one more mistake, Dark Racing could be starting on the overall podium at the start of the final session of the race. So lots of cars with lots of damage, however they've decided to stay out. Look at all along the left hand side of that Garage 59 McLaren. Oh, and he's looped the car. Oh dearie me. Uncrewed Squid having a lot of problems. I reckon that might also be down to the broadcaster's blunder. I'm going to stop looking at Uncrewed Squid because he seems to have an issue every single time I look at him. The gap is now 3 minutes and 6 seconds to the lead. 3 minutes to go in the session. It'll be tight, but there may be just one final lap in the session. And we'll see in a moment's time. But regardless, thank you very, very much for tuning in to this broadcast I hope I've been able to make this second session, interesting for you. I hope the racing's been entertaining. This interclass battle has been the most exciting thing we've seen so far, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Dark Racing, the underdog, versus Night Pegasus in an R8 GT3 in a car with probably about double the horsepower of that Renault Megane. Dark Racing, oh, he's in the slit. He's all over the back of Night Pegasus and might actually be in a position to make a move. Now, there may be time left in the session. I'm not sure. We're down to 2 minutes left, and Shads is just entering the final third of the lap by the looks of things. Uncrewed Squid still in second. The battle's still on for third place in the overall lead. Sorry, third place on the overall standings. Spark Destroyer is very much enjoying the action he's seeing. The battle's still on for third place, and Dark Racing is looking very, very racy behind Night Pegasus at the moment. I don't want to look away. There's 1 minute and 38 seconds left in the session, so we may get just one final lap. It is so close for third place at the moment. Dark Racing also in the overall lead, in the class lead of TCR, and could actually be on the overall podium by the end of this session. It's still close, up the front. Well, sorry, in third place at the moment. Can Dark Racing stay in the slipstream of Night Pegasus? Night Pegasus with a significantly more powerful car than Dark Racing. However, it will be hindered due to the aero damage that it has. And just for the time being, we'll have a look at Shads, who looks like he'll be starting lap 12 momentarily, and Uncrewed Squid's gone off again. More and more problems for him. Dark Racing's gonna have a look on Night Pegasus. Darky's gone through on the inside. Change for position on the second last lap of the session. Dark Racing goes up into overall third place. Still leads the touring car class. He's ahead of Night Pegasus. Night Pegasus obviously having significant problems with that car at the moment. 16 seconds left in the session. It's still close between Dark Racing and Night Pegasus. Shads in the final section of the track with 4 seconds to go. Will there be another lap? He's just slowing up before the checkered flag. Shads crosses the line and leads at the end of session 2. However, the battle is still on for third place. Dark Racing 40 and Night Pegasus still going at it. I'm not entirely sure if they're still racing. I'm not sure if they've crossed the line. But by the looks of things, oh yes, they are just on the final lap by the looks of things. And the battle's still on. Will Dark Racing 40 finish on the overall podium in this session and start the final session in third place? He's still ahead of Night Pegasus. Night Pegasus with a much more powerful car. Will he be able to gain on him going down this straight? No, he won't. Oh, Dark Racing gets a little bit loose. He's still ahead of Night Pegasus. Still ahead. Going into the final few corners, I think. Oh wait, no, they've still got an entire last lap to go. I just realised we're not on the Grand Prix circuit, and we'll be going for another lap of this battle. This is going to be a good one, actually. Caitlin's saying, I'd much rather be in a Megane than a GT3, to be honest. The GT3 is much faster, the Megane is much less snappy and much nicer to drive. And she's also said that it's a great drive from Dark Racing. And it looks like Night Pegasus is slow. Dark Racing has pulled out a 2-second gap to Night Pegasus on the final lap. Uncrewed Squid looks like he'll be finishing this lap momentarily. However, this battle's still on between Dark Racing and Night Pegasus. Now, Dark Racing has pulled a 5-second gap over Night Pegasus now, but I think we will be coming to a few long straights in the not-too-distant future, which will give Night Pegasus an opportunity to catch up, and Night Pegasus is... wow, he's very far behind Dark Racing. What an underdog story in Session 2 with 1 session to go. Dark Racing actually going toe-to-toe in an entirely different class against a GT3 car. I mean, who would have predicted that? I was expecting the battle to be up front between Uncrewed Squid and Shads, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's between 2 different classes. Who would have guessed? And Uncrewed Squid looks like he is about to come into the final sector of the track. Shads has actually just stopped. Congratulations to Shads on taking victory for Session 2. However, he's still got another session to go, so he needs to keep it consistent in the final session. Dark Racing's pulled out a 6-second gap over Night Pegasus at the moment, which is immensely impressive. This is absolutely super. This is an amazing drive from Dark Pegasus. Dark Pegasus? Why do I keep saying Dark Pegasus? It's not like they're going to have a child or something. We're not going to have a hybrid between Dark Racing and Night Pegasus. Is it going to be Dark Racing and an Audi R8 GT3 car in this race and then win the overall race? I'm not sure. Only 3 sessions in a 24-hour race, says Caitlin Penny. Well, it's not quite 24 hours. It happens over a period of 24 hours, but it's only probably about a 6-hour race, but we are going to gloss over that. Whatever the case, it's the N24. It happens over a period of 24 hours. We decided that doing a full 24-hour race would be a bit too difficult in this game. Whatever the case, though, we are still being gifted some incredibly interesting racing, and Night Pegasus has dropped to 9 seconds behind Dark Racing as he puts it in the wall. So it looks like Dark Racing will secure 3rd place in Session 2. Sado also explaining to Caitlin Penny that it's ×5 time progression in each session. But this is an immensely impressive drive from Dark Racing. Night Pegasus is now 20 seconds behind, having major issues at the moment. Dark Racing is still the car to watch, and Uncrewed Squid has also finished the race, finished the session, and has met up with Shads at the start of the cooldown lap. Dark Racing still circulating with a comfortable lead over Night Pegasus, which means that he will start the 3rd session with a comfortable lead over Night Pegasus as well, which means at the end of the race we may see a TCR car on the overall podium, which would be immensely impressive. I cannot find the words for how impressed I would be if Dark Racing were able to take the overall podium at the end of the session, as he just comes into the carousel now, and he's still pulling out the gap to Night Pegasus. I think Night Pegasus is having severe issues at the moment. Looks like Colonel Lloyd may be about to finish as well with no rear wing. The Bentley running into problems once again with no bonnet. It's a disappointing 3rd session for Colonel Lloyd, but not a disappointing 2nd session for Dark Racing. Whoa, he's getting sideways! Wow, you don't need to push that hard, Darky. You've got a massive gap to Night Pegasus. It's now 30 seconds. Night Pegasus is having severe issues at the moment. It's a 30-second gap between a TCR car and a GT3 car. My mind is absolutely blown. This has been an amazing first broadcast on the TCR Discord, and not Discord. I'm getting my social media pages mixed up. It's late. It's been an amazing first broadcast on the TCR Twitch for Aus-NZ combined. I hope you've enjoyed this, because this has been an upside down race. I have no idea how this has happened. I hope you've been thoroughly entertained, and Dark Racing's up on his fastest lap as well. He is absolutely gunning it right now. Lockie will finish the session second in the TCR class. Sado, of course, disconnecting, unfortunately. And a good thing this session's ending, because I'm running out of voice at the moment. My voice is getting a little bit hoarse. But I'm sure you'll all help me cheer on Dark Racing 40 as he brings this car home. I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away by Darky, how well he's driven in this session. He's coming into the final section of the track, as is Colonel Lloyd, who's not had the best session by any means. That car's been to pit road several times, is currently missing a bonnet and a rear wing, but still circulating. I'm immensely impressed that he hasn't just rage quit. That's racing spirit right there, and he's still struggling with that car as he comes round the final few corners to take the checkered flag for session 2. A very battered 38 at Bentley, crossing the line last overall in session 2. However, that's nothing that duct tape can't fix. Dark Racing rounding the final few turns to bring his Renault Megane home third place in session 2, and will start in session 3 in third place, and has a comfortable 50-second gap to Night Pegasus. He should be very, very proud of that drive. Congratulations to Dark Racing 40. And he has a shot at the overall podium positions, and he joins the rest of the GT3 cars at the end of the straight. Night Pegasus will join them as well. He's coming into the final section of the track. Now, where's Lockie at the moment? Lockie is at the start of the final lap. I'm not even sure Lockie will be able to cross the line at this point. Dark Racing will bring... Night Pegasus will bring a very battered Audi R8 GT3 home. He's looking like he's lagging a little bit. Maybe his kids have just jumped on the internet. Why am I thinking of Dark Racing? Okay, I need to stop commentating. I'm getting my drivers mixed up. Whatever the case, Night Pegasus crosses the line 4th. 3rd overall in GT3. And my screen's gone dark, and it looks like the session has come to a close. So Shad takes the checkered flag for session 2, followed by Uncrewed Squid in the Garage 59 McLaren, and Dark Racing 40 in the number 42 Renault Megane. Night Pegasus brings the Team Phoenix number 6 Audi R8 GT3 home in 4th, and it was Lockie Fives bringing the not bringing the Mercedes quite home, but he still was 5th place, and Colonel Lloyd rounds off the field. So thank you very much for tuning in. Spark Destroyer says he's glad he watched tonight, and I'm glad you watched tonight as well. Thank you very much for tuning into my very first Twitch broadcast. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Check the description for a link to Aus-NZ combined if you want to come and join the action. I'm so glad you could come and join us tonight, and that was a fantastic drive from Darky, and a fantastic drive from Shads as well to take the checkered flag at the end of session 2. And I think we'll round it off there. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. We may be broadcasting the final session, but I'll keep you posted. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.